I'm going to quickly start off with Vicky Ratnani. Vicky, you're a very famous celebrity chef. You've written 2 books, or is it more?
I've written 2 books, yeah.
And you've been traveling across the length and breadth of the country. You've been traveling abroad, making Indian food popular. And how are you doing so?
You know, the whole, professionally, I've never trained in an Indian kitchen. I've been cooking all over the world, doing other kind of food. Moved back to India 12 years ago, and I've got my own style of cooking Indian food. I love reading Indian food, so I get invited to cook in different parts of the world, like the Maldives, Thailand, Dubai, and in parts of India as well. I'm doing a pop-up in Hyderabad tomorrow. So, for me, is that when I do menus abroad, I only do my version of Indian food. Because I think that there's a whole life that I can lead now is reinventing myself to promote Indian food, because it's really out there now. I mean, I think people among chefs abroad as well, it's very aspirational to cook Indian food. Indian food is all about spices. It's about the alchemy of spices. So you have to be a really good cook in order to understand spices and cook with them. Correct, chef?
Yeah.
It's not just seasonings.
Yeah.
It's not salt, pepper, and herbs. It's spices. And there is an accurate kind of measurement, which it's an alchemy. It's of spices,
Yeah.
which creates dishes.
And you're a master of it. And also
I'm
the
trying.
global perception. The global perception. What is it that people abroad in America, in England, and in Southeast Asia think about Indian food? And when you're taking Indian food, are there any changes that you're making to make it globally acceptable?
See, I'll tell you, I'll make the UK and the US as a prime example. 15 years ago, Indian food was considered as a cheap curry dinner where, to cure the hangover or eating after booze, and, everything was it was never more than 5-6 pounds or $8 for an Indian meal. So it was treated as like one of those easy, immigrant, cheap food, spicy. And I think now the whole perception of Indian food is very elevated. You have fine dine restaurants, you have smart casual restaurants, people are becoming trendy. You go to see there is a lot of Indian spices happening with Western food. A lot of chefs are using different food. A lot of Indian restaurants happening everywhere. So I think we are in a big explosion out there, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to quickly remind my viewers over here and my audience over here that Vicky's book, the first one that he came out, Vicky Goes Veg, and the second one, which is Global Desi, they're out over here.
Urban Desi.
Urban Desi, beg your pardon. Urban Desi, they're out over here. He'll be signing those books, and they are available at bookstalls and the book lounge, and get your copy after the session gets over. Okay. Let's come to Suvir. Suvir, you're a restaurateur. You've written a number of books. There are a lot of hats that you don. And you have worked extensively in New York before you came to India. How's your experience been in terms of promoting Indian food?
Promoting Indian food to non-Indians is an easy task. We Indians are still married to butter chicken, dal makhni, paneer makhni, dosa, idli, sambar, and maybe 1 or 2 other items. So till that food defines Indian cuisine in the Indian mindset. Unfortunately, yes, we have expensive Indian restaurants, but they're given business by the 1% of the world. Indian food is still ethnic food, and we allow that word ethnic to be labeled next to our dining, what we wear, how we dress, how we speak, how we behave. It's the ethnic section. When you're an ethnic section, you're never an equal. So first, we have to stop calling our own food ethnic, our own clothing ethnic. That's when Indian food grows up. So in America, even today, the 0.1% eat at fancy, chic, hip Indian restaurants. The majority of people eating Indian food, Indians and non-Indians, are eating at the terrible $6 all-you-can-eat buffet, curry, Japanese dal makhni, butter chicken, laced with color, made with chemically enhanced chicken. That crap is what's giving a behuda name to our Indian khana, our Indian experience, and is keeping Indian food always the next best cuisine. I lived in New York for 30 years, and every 4 or 5 years the tide would come of Time Out New York, New York Times, saying Indian food will be the next best thing. 8 cycles of the next best cuisine. It
But
never
we've not been able
toppled
to reach
Thailand.
there.
Nominated, but it's never become the best cuisine in the world. Japanese, Thai, Chinese, Vietnamese, South American, French. We've never been that. We are always the next one.
Why have we not been able to circumvent?
Because we are ashamed of dal, ghar ki dal. You know, in every home of India, every day, Vicky's Sindhi roots, my Punjabi, UP roots, Suresh's Bengali roots, 100 versions of dal can be made in these 3 familial units. But we are ashamed to eat them at our restaurants. We never tell our friends from another town that my mother makes a dal patli wali with more pani than less cream and butter and ghee, which is so delicious and light and seasonal and regional and celebrates every tyohar and sajda in a mosque. We are ashamed of that. Till we own our cuisine, we are never going to be the best cuisine of the world. So हम अपने मुंह कहते गोरे की लाल गाल देख के हिंदुस्तानी लोग अपनी गाल थप्पड़ मार मार के लाल कर देते हैं. So we are always the people copying everybody else.
Okay. No, Sarish, would it be globally acceptable to give our simple dal sabzi roti and make it, it is definitely palatable because we are eating it every
Beyond
single day. Beyond palatable. But
Delicious.
when people are talking about this, global cuisine, we're talking about high-end food, we're talking about Michelin star food, and there is a lot of fusion that is happening, and there's molecular gastronomy. Amidst all of that, does the simple Indian food, get subdued, get under the carpet?
Look, what is the most famous Thai food, It's the curries, okay? Now, where do you get the curries? You get it on the streets, you get it in people's homes, The Vietnamese pho, which is a soup, basically, is again a home thing. If, Vietnam can be, it's equated with the pho, which is a soup, like a dal, or if Thailand is famous all over the world because of its curries, then I don't know why are we ashamed or hesitant about promoting our own food. I would, in this case, mention that, take the French, for instance, how they made the food a national soft power or an international soft power statement. Alain Ducasse, who's the most famous French chef ever, he created a good food day, which the French embassies all over the world promote in their own areas. So in India, for instance, last time it was heard, it was called Good de France, and the last time it was held in India, which was last year, more than 45 restaurants participated in it, Indian restaurants, offering French cuisine. Now that is the, kind of push we need for Indian food to become the global soft power we hope it will become.
Okay.
Don't you think that's happening now?
I
don't know about. I'm not ashamed of my own food and culture.
Right.
In fact, like we go abroad, we cook Indian food.
I do karelas at my pop-ups.
Yeah, I do Sindhi curry. I do Sindhi mutton and bugal chawal in my restaurant.
Yes, but this has to be an organized effort,
Yeah. See, the thing is, nothing's been
We
documented.
need more and more chefs and restaurateurs like
Nothing's been documented.
I think Suresh's point is that instead of allowing the Baba Ramdevs of the world to give us Gaumuti, we should be making dal, ghar ki dal, ghar ke simple chawal, tahiri, hamari jhol wali sabzis, the mainstay that allow the men and women of our Indian homes to shine bright and make a colorful array of foods that are as healthy as time. Our Ayurveda is a buzzword that we Indians are corrupting and monopolizing on us as people keep going to hospitals, putting ghee in their food as if it's some panacea of good health. It isn't. Affluenza is killing India, not influenza and other diseases. Cucina povera is a food of poverty in Italy. They eat poor man's khana, remain healthy. We are eating dal makhani, butter chicken and dying of Ayurvedic healing. So that's what's killing us.
But are we really eating dal makhani every single day, or are we really eating butter chicken every day?
So that is the tragedy with Indian cuisine in the global perception.
Okay.
What we do not eat at home has become the sort of the hallmark of Indian cuisine.
Indians
Yeah,
eat.
you know, I was saying,
And it's also interesting because we have such diverse cultures and therefore equally diverse cuisines. Like you said, whether it is the Sindhi cuisine, Punjabi, Bengali, Andhra, and the list goes on. Kashmiri and Bihari. You have food from Uttar Pradesh. So how do we make this popular, and how do we ensure that the global audience is then brought to the table and allowed for this platform to be given for this kind of food?
Stop taking the chefs as they arrive at the airport to Bukhara to eat dal Bukhara, Dampok to eat a biryani. That is boring, shameful Indian food of 1970. Take them to the homes, take them to the street sides, where there's still some men and women cooking not Jenny pizza and cheese pav bhaji, but real honest Indian ghar ka khana. And if that will be the day our food will be respected by the world, there's no Michelin guide in India, no serious chef loves Indian food. They aspire to understand spices, work with Vicky Ratnani, and learn what his mother cooked. They're not eating what the chefs of India are eating. Okay.
So Vicky, it's also surprising that India still does not have Michelin star restaurants. And why is that so? Another question that I wanted to ask was in terms of the soft power that food can be and potentially is for India in taking to the world. Does it also have political implications? Because up until now, India was looked upon as a colonial slave country. A third world country, a developing country, and as our stature grows, does it then give us opportunity to present our food to a global audience which will be more accepting of our food? Like the French, obviously they dominated it for decades and decades together, but there's some suave to it, there's some sophistication to it, and this is how they present it, and they've just been able to ace that. Can we do that now?
See, I think, like example, how Spain promotes itself, and France,
and Italy,
and to a certain Greece, that they promote their country with food. Okay, for many years, we travel all around the world to go to markets, but when you look inside here, I think we could be the biggest culinary tourism destination in this country, because every 30 kilometers the food is different. So there's something has to be like a whole organization or a whole section where this culinary thing becomes a whole doctrine under which you have, correct or no?
Absolutely. बिखरे बिखरे तारे हैं हम लेकिन झिलमिल एक हैं हम सब भारतीय हैं. If that is adopted to our cuisine, that all the constellations and stars, which are individual homes, are given a representation, like our languages. Making Hindi the language of the country doesn't solve a problem of India shining bright. Our cuisines are so varied. We need to shine a light on all of them.
In fact, it's time our leadership treats cuisine. We have these big tamashas like this World Food India, which is going to happen in November. Now, that is like a tamasha of big business, of processed food, Now, that is not the kind of projection we need of India. We could have that big tamasha, but within that, are we promoting our Indian cuisine? Are we promoting the cuisine that we are also proud of? So we are actually losing a lot of opportunities which we are creating for ourselves, and then we let the big boys take over. The ITCs of the world rule. So the poor, home cook that, we are all talking, the Jilmil Sitare, they are all lost,
They're all scattered right
they're
now.
all scattered.
We are copying America, where I've lived for 30 years, and they laugh their way to the bank. Dalda, banned in America, banned in the European Union. Indians are doing tumkas with it. They're now eating palm oil dalda, made with palm, even worse than just soybean made into dalda. India is still buying it, and the government hasn't woken up to it. In this banned food all over the world, we are buying it. So we are eating against our bodies, against our self-interest, and then think we've arrived at the moon. We must make food. That diplomatic moment where we are not diplomatic with ourselves, but with the world. We have an honest conversations that दादी बेहुदा खाना बना रही हैं आजकल, बच्चे बदल जाओ, उनकी दादी का खाना खाओ, तब वो अच्छा होगा. We have to go to very old ways of India, and that food is still good.
So Vicky, also, the government of India is currently promoting the year of millet. हमारा जो ज्वार बाजरा है, we have forgotten to eat all these foods.
You know,
and yeah,
Year of the Millets was 5,000 years ago. It's just being relived now.
it's being and people are just taking it and celebrating it as if this is something new.
No, but
like
in
when
one way,
quinoa comes into the country.
I'm happy that they're at least doing it, because honestly, even I'm eating them more now, and I'm cooking them more as well. Not because it's you have to create an awareness of everything.
But
But we had the awareness, and suddenly down the line,
listen,
we've started eating easy
we all
food,
like
or I don't know.
spoon feeding, and the problem is that we are spoon fed with the wrong things.
No, but what happens will, like Year of the Millets, as soon as the G20 summit is over and everyone is served a millet meal, we'll forget about it. The problem is we have low attention span about our own products. Now, millets have been there for ages.
When these global trends happen, like quinoa came into being, and everybody is eating quinoa along. Now, can a millet movement happen where the globe is now consuming millet?
The quinoa movement isn't a very successful movement because in creating quinoa demand across the world, it was a fad. The fad has now gone to freaky, farro, millets. So there are farmers across the world who were raped, their lives have been ruined. They grew millet, ab millet khatam. Now they can't grow millets where quinoa was growing. So as humans, we have to divest ourselves of trends. We have to become mindful. We have to be honest, sincere. In Italy, they say what grows together should stay together. The Indian subcontinent is as rich in diversity as all of European Union, the two Americas combined. We must understand what the chef said. If we do agrotourism, if we focus our own little local regions, celebrate them, we don't have to look at the world. We can create our own raag, tal, jhap, thumri, dadra, all with our food, and we'll be singing and dancing without going to a hospital.
A country like Thailand, okay, it defines its country. There are 12 or 13 dishes which are advertised when they talk about Thailand. So it is about food.
No, they have food tourism as a separate
I'm
segment.
saying even the country defines itself with food.
Yeah.
Not with anything.
North, south, you travel across.
You go to any European small place or Thailand or Vietnam.
It's food.
Cooking classes, okay, maybe they may be a scam or whatever, but they are encouraging people to come and learn their food and learn how to cook them rather than going into restaurants as well. So cook,
And
why are we not doing that?
State dinners. When
Why are we
leaders
not
come,
doing?
they share foods of different regions. Modi ji Tamil khana खिलाए, वो आसाम का खाना खिलाए, वो उन regions का जो वो खुद नहीं खा पाए, पर country पे light डालें. This is what we need to expect.
But
of
I
our
also
leaders.
know, since time immemorial, as a child, I've gone to those. Is it called the chowki dhanis? You
Right.
go. So
Yes.
so there's Rajasthani food or Gujarati food. That's also authentic. It's rich food, but then it gives you a flavor of what Rajasthani food is like. Should such a model be incorporated and popularized?
Look, how many chowkidanis are there in India? Frankly, there is only one. There is one Vishala in Ahmedabad. You can almost count on a
Very
fingertips,
famous one in Indore.
Yeah, okay. Indore now has become very famous because
food
of Sarafa
capital.
Bazaar. Sarafa Bazaar. But these are all scattered, and what the world has done is, suppose you go to the ITDC or India Tourism website, you get an entire listing of all these food tourism hubs. In India, you'll get no such thing. I was at Gastronomica San Sebastian, which is one of the biggest food festivals of the world. And India had a pavilion in one sad corner. Others were, lavishing us with the cheeses, this, that, and all, talking about terroir, DOPs, this, that, and what did India have? One picture of dosa, one picture of chana, batura,
Gastronomica.
San Sebastian, Gastronomica, yeah. And what did our the hotel chain of the company representing India produce? Dal Bukhara. Now, frankly, we ourselves are, shooting ourselves in the foot.
Canned dal bukhara.
Exactly.
Also, I think the Punjabi food is something that is oversold, which is rich food, creamy food, butter chicken.
Punjabis are ashamed of eating that
Yeah,
khana.
but when you go,
Punjabis
when
don't
you
eat
go
that
to,
food,
Yeah,
you know,
when you go, exactly, we don't eat that food on a daily basis, but we sell it. because we want to show our loudness and we are so we are so like grandiose, and we are so open, and we want public to actually accept us, and we are so open-minded and so on and so forth. But when it comes to say Bengali food, they are true to their roots. You'll find that machar jhol and even their sweets, they come from the heart. They are authentic as ever. Assamese food, take a look at Odishi food. What has gone wrong with the Punjabi food? I know it's the most popular cuisine across the globe. It has been sold like that, but it has something gone wrong.
Was it Punjabi food? It wasn't.
I mean, yeah.
It's what...
Whatever, the version of Punjabi food that is being sold.
That's what I call the restaurant Punjabi food. Yeah. It's not Punjabi food as it is,
My grandmother would never eat dal bukhara.
Yeah.
And naan.
I mean, I couldn't eat it, for consecutively 3 days.
His family, my family, which have roots in northwest frontier Punjab, they would have badhasmi if they ate naan and roti, tandoori every day. So we've created, this is what we are saying. There's a bastardized myth of what is Indian food, and nobody, for many different parties in power, many prime ministers and leaders of yesteryear and today, nobody has disrupted that thinking. We must create a new language around food. We must, as both these gentlemen have said, market it with aggressive tourism money put into it. That, there's a big time bomb waiting to make culinary magic come out of its blast. And that's the magic of Indian colors and food. वो आना चाहिए.
Okay. Also, talking about food diplomacy, now when Prime Minister Modi is going to America and he's attending the G20 Bali summit, and now all these big leaders are going to arrive over here, and we are going to showcase our food strength as well, food diplomacy. Can that help put India at a global position, which is going to be akin to French cuisine or Italian cuisine or Spanish cuisine? Can this be a kickstart?
I don't think it's going to make much. I think there's more to that. I think, like you said,
have you been approached?
I think in every state and every big city, there has to be a representation of that hyper-local culture. Say, in Maharashtra, okay, most visited city is Mumbai. So I'm saying in a city like Mumbai or a place like Delhi, there has to be something huge, which is a cantina, a food hall, a hawker stand,
a
library of food, where you can research on food, you can walk in and read about food, you can go there and you've got the entire glossary of non-restaurant style dishes. In every city it should be there. Or what do you think?
And this, we're coming back to one thing. In our public policy making, promotion of our food heritage plays no role. I mean, like the way we promoted yoga, and now International Day of the Yoga has become a global phenomenon. Similarly, we should have an International Day of Indian gastronomy, And
a few days.
You're saying quote unquote bastardization of yoga as well, because there are so many various
Indian food day.
No. Yeah. And there won't be, because we don't know what it is.
How do we have Indian food day? Because we have so many variations.
No, that's okay. Indian food is an umbrella term to, like when we talk about Italian food, we don't talk about just Italian food. We talk about Italian food from up north to down to Sicily, Okay. Within Sicily also there are 2 or 3 types of, Sicilian food that is available. So we celebrate Italian food as, as a sum of its parts. Not similarly, we can always celebrate Indian cuisine as a sum of its parts, and that is what is missing. We really need an international day of Indian gastronomy. That is that is a way forward, and where all chefs from all over the world, Indian and international, come together to promote and serve Indian food to the end consumer. Okay. Only after the end consumer starts end consumer starts practicing yoga. Similarly, if the end consumer starts having Indian food, they'll all know about Indian food and its varieties.
Also, there are a number of these international cookery shows that take place, and there is a sprinkle of Indian chefs who are also present over there. They may be from Punjab, they may be from Tamil Nadu, and so on and so forth. Now, there is this, USP that they have of uniqueness, of exoticness, but is that Is that just relegated to that, or is the Western world also opening up to the idea that there are these variations and they are as tasty as or even better than what they had the perception of what Indian food was?
I think the West is ahead of us in their perception of Indian food because they're very clever about what is fake, what is real. What we have to worry about is Instagram, where it's the new marketing genius that the world has. And in India, sushi, dal sushi, Jenny pizza, there's golgappa with some kind of Sindhi curry or Punjabi curry going in it. This is not innovation. It's not progressive.
But are people really doing this? Golgappa with Sindhi curry?
It's
Oh my God.
confusion.
And we are a nation that celebrates the nasty word for food chefs and food writers all over the world called fusion. Because they call fusion confusion, and we love it. We are very proud of it. So we have dark times there.
Okay. We could continue with this conversation for hours. It's been very interesting, very insightful. You've been a great speakers, all three of you, and thank you for joining us
Thank you so much.
at the Festival of
Thank you
Ideas.
so much.
And
Thank you.
a huge round of applause.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.